Nerdiest Prime.
Travel forward with us, 300 years into the future, to confront the greatest mystery ever to threaten mankind. This is the return of Captain Kirk.
An alien object of unbelievable destructive power is less than 3 days away from this planet.
Hi, and welcome to Nerdiest Prime. We are reviewing Star Trek The Motion Picture, the classic from 1979, and we're here to discuss it and debate it.
Spock hasn't even come on the ship yet. We're an hour and a half into this. This could be longer than the movie.
Oh, God.
I only have 3 more pages of notes.
Okay, so Spock arrives. How do we feel about Spock's arrival on the ship? Jenny?
Spock is being kind of mean-ish or distant, let's say. He is, I think, overcompensating. I think he's, like, happy to see everybody, but he's, like, he's got his, like, he's kind of butthurt about not achieving Kolinahr, so he's, like, being extra Vulcan to make up for it, you know? Yeah, that's what I think. But it's nice to see him, and I love his little tights. He's kind of rocking like Olivier and Hamlet kind of vibes, you know?
It takes him a ridiculously long time to get on that ship, just again, so they can show some pretty shots of the Vulcan shuttle. I was like, just beam aboard already. Let's get on with this.
At least it gives Chekhov something to do.
I know, and I felt so bad for Chekhov because, I mean, they work so closely.
Oh, I know. He hurt his feelings so bad. I know.
Chekhov was like Spock's like second, you know, like his understudy for the science station in the original series. And because Mr. Spock, is so great to see you. He's like, and he just like wanders off. I'm like, man, he couldn't even say hello, maybe shake his hand. I don't know. It was mean. Like, again, it's like they're introducing these characters and they're just not who you remember. And well, I guess we've already seen Spock in this movie, but you know, this is him coming aboard with his old crew, and he's just kind of indifferent to them. I'm like, this is not the reunion I wanted to see. And like, this is not fun. Chekhov tries to make it fun, but no, nobody's having it. Chekhov's like the only ray of sunshine in this movie.
Although it's funny because this is the point where Kirk changes into the short sleeves, and he gets more fun.
How many uniforms did Kirk bring along?
He changed like 4 times. It's crazy. They were only gone for like a day.
I know. It's like he's in a Christmas special or something where he's got like
it was like, I don't know, Spock being on board kind of like perked him up. I guess he just wanted to look nice for Spock, show off the guns, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so tanned. It's crazy. Especially because Spock, who's been hanging out in the desert for 3 years, is like white as a sheet.
He's really dickish when he gets back on board. You know, like, I don't know what Kolinahr does, but I know the one thing it does is make you a jerk. But I think that's what's happening. Like, it's still the remnants of the 3 years of him doing whatever that process is, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't, like, he's still that aloof, kind of logical Vulcan until he goes out and meets V'ger later on in the movie. So I you know. And that's great too, because it kind of brings him back to the character that we know and love. But you know, it's nice to when they're all back on the bridge, right? Even if they're a little bit off and they have to grow back into the characters that we remember, it's nice to see them again. You know, like they're excited to see Spock. Spock doesn't care, you know, and you're like, oh, what's going on, you know. And Uhura's like, it's how we feel. And Spock doesn't feel a thing, right? You know. So it was a good reintroduction. You know, I don't like. My point is, I don't want them to be the same characters as they were in the show, right?
Yeah.
Like I want them to be a little different, right? I want them to have some growth, and then if they go back to the way they were in the original show, I think that's great, and that's ultimately what happens.
I also want them to have some life to them and personality. Nobody has any personality.
You know, talk to Gene Roddenberry about that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's a 70s sci-fi movie. Nobody ever has personality in those.
Well, you know, so the scene that comes right after the Spock introduction is he fixes the engines. They have a little warp speed. Kirk gives a little wink to Chekhov, and then we have this really what feels the only substantial character scene in the whole movie, which is Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the observation lounge.
Will you please sit down?
And there's like these nice little moments where Kirk is like, "Will you please sit down?"
Yeah, I like that.
And
I was
then
like, oh, there he is.
there he is.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like for 1 second,
Mhm.
it's like Kirk is there, and for 1 second, McCoy's there. He's like, "You're just as warm and sociable as ever."
Mhm.
And Kirk is doing and Spock does a little banter back with him, and then there's a whole moment, and then there's the moment of doubt where McCoy doubts Spock and his loyalty, and it's like there's some real drama going on here, and that's pretty much the end of that for the rest of the movie.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
And
They could use a
then
lot more of that.
so one thing I noticed in the lengthy sequence where they fly into the nebula, lengthy sequence. One thing that I loved it is that Bones twice during during the from the outside of the nebula to the inside of the nebula, Bones shows up on the bridge, stands there for a while, turns around and leaves, doesn't say anything, and then he does it again. He does it a second time. Once they're like inside and they get a little closer, then he comes out on the bridge again, watches with everybody else, and then just turns around and leaves again. It's
He's waiting
so
for something
weird.
to happen.
Sorry, I just swore again.
I didn't even
Yeah.
notice that.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, they're
Like,
still
everyone
here."
okay?
Unless it's not,
Well,
unless
I-
it's not
I-
that version.
I was paying a lot of attention to Disco Bones, right? So he'd show up on the bridge, and I'm like, "Ooh, what's he gonna say?" And then he just turns around and leaves, and I'm just like, "What the hell's happening?"
This is
Like,
where we
check
go.
off. You heard? Not yet. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be back.
It's like we just get to.
Yeah.
We go
'Cause-
through
and it was funny 'cause
V'ger's many apertures.
So many apertures.
So many penetrations.
It's so lengthy.
Oh, it's
Lengthy.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Okay, a lot of people complain about the long trip into the nebula, and I think it's fantastic. Also, in the 4K version, I think they trimmed it up a little bit because it did not seem as long as the original version.
I think
Well,
it's,
in the
it's
original
a gorgeous
version, it
sequence. It's just
seems
far too long.
Lengthy.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Again, they have this
spectacular.
beautiful slit screen, whatever visual effect formations, cloud things. It's awesome. It's very mathematical. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, 2001 is long, and nobody complains about how long it is, and it's as long.
Do they not?
I find it really long and confusing and boring.
Yeah, but also there's a
Okay.
problem. I mean, there's a problem if you're comparing Star Trek to 2001. They're like not the
Yes.
same genre of sci-fi. They're
Yeah,
totally
but this
different.
movie is. Generally, I would agree, but this movie, I think not only...
Right.
A lot of movies try to be 2001, including the sequel, 2010, and they all fail. The worst thing that Interstellar could do is try to draw comparisons with 2001. I think I will go out there and say that Star Trek The Motion Picture is the only movie that goes up against 2001 and actually kind of like sort of gets there.
Yeah, it's a hot take.
Interesting.
Great.
No.
Great.
Maybe. Could be right.
I'm not saying it's as
Possibly.
good of a movie, but I'm just saying like it actually kind of like ends up doing the same type of movie and yet stays in its own Star Trek lane without just being an imitation. Because I agree that these movies, these sequences are long, but they're supposed to be long. That's the whole point of them. The point is they're entering this region of space that they're exploring something that they've never seen before, and the whole point. Jenny, what's going on?
I'm just listening. I'm a very reactive listener. I'm sorry. I like showing that I'm listening.
Okay, you can say what do you really think?
I feel like this movie, I think I would have liked it better if it had like random characters that weren't Star Trek. Like if I didn't go into this being like, this is a Star Trek movie, I feel like I would have liked it more. You know what I mean? If it was just because if they were like, hey, check out this 70s sci-fi movie that's a little bit long. Okay, cool. And I just sort of have no expectation of like, you know, fun. Anyway, go on.
Right, but you know, but that's what's great. What I love about Star Trek is Star Trek can be many different things.
It can. You're absolutely right about that.
And it manages to be horrible things later on, and we still watch it. And this is not bad, like Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Picard season 2 or anything like that. It's not that bad. It's just not what we're used to, you know. And
go on.
I think it's fun that we get like a little. I mean, that's what I like about Star Trek in general is that you get like the episode that's like the comedy episode, and then you get the high concept science fiction episode, and you get the little heist episode, and you get the love story episode, and they just it's so malleable. You get something else. And this version, you get the 2001 version of Star Trek. I'm like, who doesn't want to watch that? Really? It's a little long, okay, but that's what 2001 is like.
I didn't mind that sequence. I liked it. I mean, I did. I thought it was really interesting. It was kind of new for Star Trek. We don't see something like that ever again, and it did feel alien, right? It did feel like, okay, what's happening? What are we looking at? Why are there all these planets now? All of a sudden, although that's
alien
a bit later.
felt alien,
but
and it was really
still,
cool.
it's like.
Cool.
Wait your turn, Alan. Wait your turn.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this was a different type of, alien, right? This was a different type of like, because it's a cloud. V'ger's a cloud, right? Like, what's going to be, there's going to be some weird shit inside. It's a mathematical cloud, like, so it's going to be odd. And I think that came out really well. The only thing that I found weird was everything seemed to have like little lighted windows, and so that seemed like strangely inappropriate because it's not.
Populated?
Like there's no people there. Yeah, it's not populated.
That's where the Borg drones are.
It's a little bit strange.
I think the reason for that was to give it some scale. It was just. I mean, I agree with you that it's weird that there's basically little windows if there's no people, but I think they were trying to find a way to give. How do we give this thing any scale? And that's an easy way to do it. I think.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that Alan's brought it up, I really like in my head. I'm like, the Borg came from V'ger.
Okay, whoa! Stop.
Oh, sorry.
This is not. We're not there yet. We're gonna get there. It's not there. So
my ass is really hurting.
Don't interfere with it. Absolutely, I will not interfere.
Okay, so we're in the ship. Now I'm starting to lose track of where we are in the movie. We're in the ship. Oh, Aelia. So Aelia gets a probe comes onto the bridge and zaps Aelia away and turns her into a sexy robot. So how do we feel about this turn of events? Jenny?
How do I feel about it? I mean, it had to happen to somebody, I guess. I gave her something to do. So that was nice. I mean, it sucks that she's dead. That's kind of awful. But like dead, but not really, like kind of, yeah.
But it's not. It's funny because she's
digitized.
It's funny that she's dead. But then when they bring her back, which is like a minute later, they literally bring her back as a sexy robot, because when she's Aelia, she's in full uniform. Yeah. And then when she's the sexy robot, she's actually got a mini skirt on, basically. Like,
yes,
she comes out of the shower.
I did notice that. Yes.
She's naked in the shower, and then she comes out of the shower. I'm like, why is she in the shower in the first place? It's like, and then the whole thing is, yeah.
So okay. I mean, yeah, that I don't know. Like I like that they're trying to figure stuff out. Like this sequence for me is the most Star Trek-y part of, or one of the most Star Trek-y parts of it, because they're doing the Disco Bones has something to do for a minute. They're like trying to figure her out, and then when they give Decker the job of like talking to her and taking her on a tour and stuff, their conversation really felt like Star Trek to me. Like it actually, them just him kind of like, what do your people do for recreation? Just and I mean not that that the dialogue was like amazing, but it was just I liked watching a Starfleet person trying to figure something out. I liked that very much. Yeah.
Well,
More
I
than
just
the
say
sexy robot part.
the games in their recreation room look boring as hell. This is a game
I
we
thought it looked
enjoy.
nice.
And it's just like some dots on the floor. I'm like, this is Atari.
I was like, oh, it's like a nice place to go read a book, I guess. Like,
Yeah, that's about it. It
Mhm.
looks like.
Yeah, with the nice carpeted steps.
yeah, yeah.
Comfortable.
I know.
Okay, Namir, sexy robot Alia. How do you feel with this?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean, I understood. I kind of this for me is sort of where the movie felt weird in terms of tone. Like as soon as Ilea came back, it took a left turn a little bit for me, and it was because weirdly it felt more Star Trek, right, than what was being established in the movie. But then you get used to it pretty quickly, and I think it was kind of necessary. You know, I don't know. My favorite. I don't even know what to say about it. But my favorite part of that entire sequence is when Deckard and Kirk are talking in a room, and then Ilea bursts through the doors
Like the Kool-Aid Man, yeah.
like the Kool-Aid Man, yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, and I'm like, don't those doors open automatically? Aren't they motion sensor door? Like I don't get it.
That was great. Yeah, it was great.
You lock the door. Don't you see him lock the door because they don't want her to come in, and she goes.
And then Bones
She goes,
and the security
"Bah!"
guard
What
are
you
just
talking
in
about?
behind her, like peeking over her shoulders.
But it was good because I think you needed to reestablish that Deckard and that Ilea still had weird feelings for Deckard,
Yeah.
right? Like that relationship
Yeah.
needed to be established again so that the ending made sense.
See,
So yeah, it was fine. I liked it.
but that scene to me, it didn't make sense because we have a probe that's coming to Earth. We're going to learn that it's looking for its creator. It's coming to Earth for a reason. It wants to meet humans or whatever, the creator.
No, the creator.
And
He thinks humans are vermin.
it probes the bridge, and there's all these other humans on the bridge. Why does the V'ger take the alien crew member to communicate with the humans? Wouldn't it pick a human?
Well, it
It
doesn't
didn't make
know
any
that
sense.
humans are the
I mean,
creators.
it makes sense to me that it's like an emotional motivation. So Decker's in love with Ilea. The end will make sense. But at this point, I'm like, why would it choose a Deltan to digitize when it's trying to get to Earth?
It doesn't know that the humans are its creators. It has no idea. It doesn't look at organic beings in that way. They're all the same to it. So it just why did it choose Ilea? And who knows? She was bald.
It chose the one that was
doesn't matter.
different.
Who knows?
Yeah, like
It chose the one that
Well,
was
there's other
different.
ones different on there too. There's this
He
Saurian.
picked the one that was. He obviously picked the one that was sexy. That was the sexy.
Yeah,
one.
I know
exactly.
exactly. It seems it doesn't make any sense other than for that. But anyway, I get bothered by things like that.
Spock wants to investigate on his own, and it's not good enough that Decker is hitting on the sexy robot. He's gonna put on a spacesuit. He does a little Vulcan nerve pinch, which always felt like, why doesn't he just ask? Like, couldn't he just have asked? Couldn't he just said, Captain, I'm going to take a spacesuit and go find out? He has to sneak around, and seems very unprofessional to me. So how do we feel about this sequence? And Namir, now you can talk about the Borg, but just wait a little bit. Okay, go.
No, it's like a court-martialable offense to neck pinch and steal a thruster suit. But anyway.
But I love that scene because I don't know who the actor is who got neck pinched, but he sells the pinch. He really was like, I've never seen anybody do. Usually they just drop like a sack of flour, but he's like, what did I do to deserve this? And then it's so great. It's so amazing. Sorry, what were you asking me?
I wrote Spock out doing whatever he wants, and then the thruster suit, whee, because this goes on for a bit with the.
And then we timed that perfectly. It's a good thing you didn't get cut in half.
I
That
know,
would've-
right? And
or
I
just
like,
smacked into it.
yeah. So the part when he finally gets to like the gigantic Ilea, and he like flies up on her, and then the like plasma ball thing is there, and he tries to mind meld with it, and then it like spits him back out. And I think it's a very nice, like, no means no moment. Like, no, you can't just be all up randomly mind, do
Oh.
whatever you want, mind melding with people. You
A
can't do
metaphor for
without
consent.
asking. Exactly. And then they're just like, get out of here, Spock. Boom, and off. Anyway, I really liked that he got ejected because it was just kind of funny. And I also liked that everybody changed again during this
So many
period.
wardrobe changes.
It was insane.
It's another really long sequence, and it's one of those ones in science fiction, like they make fun of in Galaxy Quest, when it's like, oh, there's just random thumper things like in the middle of what their pathway. And it's like, again, why is there all this stuff that they gotta get through? Like, what is this orifice? Why is it opening and closing? It's just needless like visual action stuff. Where it's like, just get to the satellite. It's like, my God, it just takes like they could have figured this out in like half an hour. Like, it just takes so long.
Okay, I think this is my favorite sequence in the whole movie. I think this is the best sequence in the whole movie.
No wonder he
I
wants to
think
talk about it.
I
Sorry,
think the
go on.
visuals are amazing.
Well, it's like very 2001.
And you just go in there, but you go in there and then you're seeing like all the planets. Like, I don't even know how they did that stuff, like with visual effects in 1979. Like, they're going through these planets and they go through it was the first time I realized that he goes through the plasma coil imaging system. He says it and then gets to the other side and you see the planets. And I'm like, oh, these are all like holograms. I was a little confused. I thought that he had digitized the things and they were actually inside of V'ger. But I realize now that they're all just, holographic projections. And then you see the machine planet. Now we can talk about the Borg in the mirror. Then we see the machine planet. And I was thinking, oh, is this the Borg planet?
Yeah, but I don't think it's the machine planet. I think it was just built around V'ger.
It drives
I
me
don't think that's
crazy
the
that they
planet
never made that canon.
V'ger.
What, the Borg thing?
That should be the Borg. Yeah, it makes total sense, but no one's ever like overtly said it.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, like when this sequence happens, like there's a lot of components that look Borgy, like they look Borg-like, right? Like it's all black with green lights. You're like, that looks super familiar, or like that the design is very, very similar, and it kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Because they talk about this mysterious machine planet that found V'ger and then sent it back to its creator, right? And like you can tie all these things together. And I was thinking just today that in Picard they have that, what are they called, the higher synthetics, right? Like the big bad in the first season that they don't really explain, right? But that's also another way to tie the Borg together.
Yeah.
And they never really explain where the Borg come from or how they got to be Borg, right?
Right, and to specify, I don't think that that's the Borg planet. I think that's the machine planet. And I think what happens at the end of this movie is they create the Borg, because it's the machine planet and the machine that gets together with a human, and they fuse together, and that creates the Borg.
Yeah, but they also go to another dimension, right? Which for me is the higher synthetics from Picard season 1, right? Because they're not from, those things aren't from this plane or whatever. Anyway, so there's a lot there, right?
Yeah.
They go to another dimension. How do you know this?
That's what they said.
at the end.
Yeah, Deckard's like, V'ger needs to evolve, right? And that evolution means evolving into another plane of existence or to another dimension, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what my interpretation of that was, that the higher plane of existence is, or the new dimension, is the fact that it's just a machine. It's logical. It doesn't understand emotion or anything, any creative thought. So what it needs to evolve is creative thought, emotion, which is what the human DNA is going to do. They're going to make
I
a
don't think so.
little.
I mean,
They're going to make
maybe.
a little Borg baby. It's going to be half machine, logical. It's going to be half human, and that's what it's going to allow. So it's not actually going to another dimension. It's allowing it to evolve into a new existence.
No, it goes to. I really think like it goes to another plane of existence. It disappears at the end, right? Where does it go? Otherwise, there would be like a little star baby floating in space, but there isn't. It's gone.
This is a good thought. I never thought of it that way. But it's, I know we skipped to the end. I guess we're here now. Jenny,
It's been so
Jenny,
long.
what do you think? Do they turn into? Do they go to another dimension? Do they become the Borg?
I definitely wasn't thinking about the Borg. I was like, they're merging into one thing and they're fluffing off into space to, I don't know, fluff around.
Do you think they go
I
to
didn't.
another dimension?
I guess that's more what I was thinking in my, yeah, like
Oh,
that
I
was
see.
more kind of like the vibe I was thinking about when I saw them disappear into light sparkles.
Oh. Namia, I mean, Alan.
That didn't say like Borg sex to me.
I don't know. I felt unclear about what exactly happened to everything at the end, because everything kind of goes poof, and then the Enterprise comes out, and I'm like, what just happened? So I wasn't sure what
That's
happened.
what I'm saying.
Like,
They
did it go
ascend.
to another dimension? Did it go back to where it came from, like in this universe? Did it transport away? I don't. It's unclear, but I guess that's part of the mystery. A lot, like, because this is like a high concept science fiction,
True.
where you kind of have to fill in the blanks a little bit, because like 2001, where it's open to interpretation at the end, and you're like, hmm. But
So
I
then,
assumed, yeah, that everything just merged and it became its own super consciousness or some sort of energy out there somewhere. I don't know. It's very weird. It's like, it's
Well
funny
said.
about
Jenny.
this whole movie. It's
well
like
said, Alan.
I found about this movie. It's like it's a Star Trek movie. We're here to see Kirk, Spock, McCoy do their thing, and it seems like they're just mere spectators of their own movie. It doesn't seem like they have a whole lot to do except stand there and say, "Oh, you know what I think's going on? I think this is going on. Oh yeah, look at that's what's going on." And they're just standing there talking about it. There's no action. They don't do anything.
No,
They just stand
no,
around.
they do
The
stuff.
only thing Kirk does
They're
is rub some rust
investigating
off a probe.
aliens.
That's the whole thing Kirk does in the climax is scrape some rust off of Voyager. That's his one action. He doesn't do a Kirk karate chop. He doesn't have a joke. He doesn't. It's like he just stands there just watching this happen, and they don't really do a whole lot of anything. It's just Decker and V'ger and Leah doing.
Does when you this time when you guys were watching the sort of ascension sequence where Leah and Decker get together, did anybody else think of the panda? Because I did.
The koala?
The
I
The
think
koala?
about the koala. That was his...
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Are you saying that the koala is V'ger, or the koala is their baby?
I don't know. I was just like,
Koala knows where they went.
Yeah, they went to the koalas where they went. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's just backtrack a little bit because we kind of got ahead of ourselves. So
I don't know, but I mean, there's nothing to backtrack to. Like I mean,
Let's
what is
not
there in
backtrack.
front of the ending?
No
There's
backtrack.
the Kirk and Decker flirtation scene does happen before the end,
okay,
and it is like I'm watching it, and because basically it's when Kirk like tricks V'ger to into letting them go so that they can get in there, and he's like, well, it looks like he called me a bluff, and I don't know, Decker's like, something about our hand is weak, but then they're both like the whole time, and it's like such a weird tone shift from where they've been. Like they've been completely at odds with each other, and then they're just like, hey, poker analogy.
But when Spock comes out of the orifice, the first thing he does is he grabs Kirk's hand and looks at him longingly and goes,
Yeah.
V'ger does not understand this simple feeling.
Yes, that's
And
right.
I don't know if we are all aware that there has been a long history of fan fiction of these
Yes.
relationship of Kirk and Spock. And this
Did you say Spurk?
Spurk, yes.
that's
Spurk fan fiction?
If you get
Spurk was the first slash fic. Like,
yeah.
Spurk.
That's a mildly disturbing.
Spurk, baby.
Yeah,
Yep.
Spurk baby.
Anyway.
Okay, and just as an aside, so if you guys ever want to read the novelization of a great novelization of
Say, do you ever want to read some Spurk fanfiction?
I do not.
Lucas is like, I've written a lot of it. I'll email you.
Please don't.
there's the novelization of Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the best novelization I ever read, and it's written by Gene Roddenberry.
Really?
But it was interesting is in the first, if I remember properly, in the first chapter, Spock is describing the scene of Spock on Vulcan, that whole thing when he has the hair, and he's about to go through the Kolinahr ceremony, and he knows he's never going to see Kirk again. So he has this little moment, because it's a novel, so you can hear the inner thoughts of the characters, and this has a little moment where he says to Kirk, like, my brother, I'll never see you again, or something like that. And then Roddenberry puts a little asterisk footnote because the word for brother is some Vulcan made up word. And then he puts a little paragraph at the bottom of the page. He's like, this word means brother, but also can be interpreted as lover. And there's been much speculation about the relationship of these two, so on and so forth.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Roddenberry making Spurk canon. I love it.
Yeah. So, it's a great novelization.
Amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So there's that moment with Spock and Kirk. Then they go. They kind of figure out with the Ilea probe that they've arrived to Earth. It's like the last moments. V'ger's sending out a little radio signal, and they figure, we need to contact V'ger, and deactivate these little probes he's sending out to destroy Earth. And they go, so there was this funny sequence when they realize that V'ger's a child, and then McCoy's like, "What are you supposed to do? Spank it?" I was like, "Oh, that is so dated."
This child is about to wipe out every living thing on Earth. Now, what do you suggest we do? Spank it.
What do we think about
classic.
this?
It was classic Bones, though. It was like the one time I was like, "That's the Bones we know and love from the TV show."
Mm-hmm.
Slightly.
Well, yeah. I mean, he says a lot of things that are dated.
Yeah.
He's got that old Southern country doctor, but we got those little tidbits of actual characters.
No. Yeah, I'm more into Disco Bones myself. Silent,
Spanking Bones.
Silent Disco Bones. No.
Bones.
I feel like he probably had like an LSD manufacturing plant or something before he got recalled to duty. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was living his best life there, I think.
Mm-hmm. He was all in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they had to figure the thing out, and then they figured it out.
I think that when I think of that scene, I think that the fact that when they were filming that, they had run out of script. and they didn't know what they were gonna
That makes
do
sense.
next. And then Shatner and Nimoy went off in the corner and started rewriting the script and picking lines away from Chekhov and Uhura. And this is the story I read somewhere. And
They took all their lines.
yeah,
That's great.
and they came back and,
Oh my
and
God.
came up with this whole like little sequence of them trying to like trick the Ilea probe or Vija into
Yeah.
revealing itself.
To be fair, that was a much like it was more them.
Mm.
You know,
Could I just-
like that really did feel like them actually.
Mm.
Yes, Alan?
Well, I know Nimoy and Shatner are the stars of this, but I felt bad for Uhura because she's like the communications specialist, communications officer, and Spock is doing all this like learning about how Voyager's communicating.
Oh, yeah.
And the radio is like, shouldn't this be Uhura realizing all these things and chiming in and showing that she knows her stuff, and she's a very good communications officer and linguistics officer.
Yeah.
And it seems like
Agreed.
Spock just stole all of her thunder because he's there. His constantly, oh, the communication seems to be binary radio signals. It's like, did they steal these lines from Nichelle Nichols? Like, 'cause it seems like this could be a great opportunity for her to strut her stuff, and she's just sitting over there doing nothing, and they're doing all this work about communicating with an alien. I just
Yeah.
felt she got
I think-
shortchanged, but I know she's
Yeah,
not
I
the
think-
star, so.
I think in this movie more than any of the other movies, considering it's so long, the supporting cast has the least amount to do. Scotty basically just says, "We cannot do it anymore, Captain," and Uhura just says, "Communicate, hailing frequencies open, and we can't communicate with Starfleet." And Chekhov just says, "Shields down, torpedo bay."
To be fair, Chekhov does have that actually. He
Oh,
does
yeah,
have that
it's
funny line where he's like, absolutely, I will not interfere, which was quite funny. It was
Right.
like the one funny line in the movie.
Right. Oh, and I just wanted to say, and this ties in with Ilea being from the Sex Planet, and this is only in the 4K version or the director's cut. When Chekhov gets hurt on the bridge during the probe thing, Dr. Chapel comes in, and then Ilea says, "No, I can take care of his pain," and touches his shoulder and gives him some sort of sexual healing or something, and he's like, "Ooh, that feels much better."
And Chapel's like, but I have 100 years of medical science
Yeah.
right here.
And she,
I could probably have done the trick.
exactly, she was like right there. She had the hypo spray in her hand. I'm like, why? Alea's navigation.
Let me use
she
my
doesn't
alien
have to be
voodoo.
there. But I thought that was interesting.
I love this movie, but my note around that scene is, and then I fell asleep. So
Did you literally?
Oh my god.
I did. Yeah, I literally did. So I don't remember that scene, but it sounds great.
I read an oxygen gravity envelope forming outside the Enterprise.
Vija.
Is they kind of park right beside these little stones, and they walk over to the center of them. In the new
You're
version,
skipping the part where they rise up out of the hull like friggin' Taylor Swift on the Eras tour. Like, I was just like, what is happening here? When is this a thing? Why is there like an elevator in the hull?
Again, it's so time
on.
sensitive, but they just don't beam over. Why they gotta take a long leisurely stroll across the saucer section and
The
It
transporter is only for Bones. It's only to terrorize Bones.
or even take a shuttle
Everybody
over?
else
It didn't make
shuttles.
any sense why they were just
Yeah.
walking, like spending
So what do
2
they-
hours walking.
Yeah.
What do they do in the 4K version? They
well,
don't.
the 4K version, it's these
No,
these little
they'll come
stars
out.
that
They'll rise up.
come and these little sparkles kind of come in, and they
Oh.
create the path.
Oh,
and then they
fancy.
walk on the thing, and
Oh.
and the scene is different. You don't. There's this like a weird warp sort of fisheye lens shot, which is the shot you're talking about, Jenny, where they rise out of it.
Oh yeah.
Right, but in the 4K version, it's like they're further away. You don't really see that happen.
Yeah. The
Weird.
other weird thing about that is that the Enterprise is like actually it's landed
It's like
on the
the
on the ground.
Only
the saucer, yeah,
yeah.
the saucer section is like nose into
Mhm.
the surface, and like, how does that work? Like, because it would have to be like this,
Yeah.
right? And then the nacelles would have to be pointing out this way.
Except that it's also like
You know,
lined up with it, so it's not like
yeah,
that.
it's
It's like
flat.
I don't understand the physics of V'ger,
The inside of V'ger, yeah.
the V'ger space.
Mhm.
I feel like the filmmakers
Yeah.
may have been a little bit confused about it as well. Go on.
It's a weird sequence, but
Yes.
the set design is amazing.
Yes.
Like I think it looks incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So we
But they're
yeah. So we get to the middle of this pit, and we have our big reveal twist. You know, it's supposed to be like I see dead people from Sixth Sense. It's supposed to be like Mom is dead and Psycho. It's supposed to be, you know, this big thing, and then ends up being Alan's name on Instagram.
It's true. I use V'ger as my
what's
name
happening?
on a lot of social
I'm
media
hearing.
stuff.
Is that somebody's?
Sorry, my cat is has a little like paper bed down here on my couch, and he just turned around and it was very loud. Sorry.
And now he's looking at looks like.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Voyager. Voyager. Voyager 6.
NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Jim. This was launched more than 300 years ago.
Yeah, I think this is a great reveal. I thought it was clever, and yeah, it inspired all my login names for all my social media. Like,
Oh, good to know. Let me just make a
I'm
note
V'ger
here.
on
Hang
pretty
on.
much everything. Yeah, Instagram, Discogs,
And we all know
everything
his
is V'ger.
password is just 12345. So
Yeah, exactly.
and the name of his pet.
Pets and kids. But yeah, this is where, again, like I said, I really liked the beginning and I really liked the end. I really liked this. I thought it was a clever reveal. Yeah, it was just so simple yet such a timeless science fiction story, and it was very well done. Like visually, it was amazing too. Like I do love this ending. I don't quite understand what happened, but I like that it was just a wayward old Earth probe that got an upgrade, and it kind of got its wires crossed, and then it's just looking for home. It's like a little ET. V'ger phone home.
I actually also really like it. I remember that, like I remember watching that when I was a kid and being like, "Whoa, that's amazing! Whoa, what a cool! Whoa, that's like such a whoa! What like?" So I really, although at the time I didn't. Anyway, yeah, whatever. But so I actually wish that I had forgotten the rest. I wish I'd been able to forget this part of the movie, so I would have been able to see it as freshly like as I did the rest of it, because this is the part that's like the good part. So, oh no, my earpods just died. Hang on a second.
20% went quick.
Second.
We're almost to the runtime of the movie now.
It's wonderful.
I know.
Oh, really? Oh my god! All right, can we please just talk about the costumes now?
No, you haven't said. I haven't talked about it, and you haven't talked about the ending. We have to talk about the ending, Namir. That's the last thing we have to do is talk about the ending. Can't skip the ending, Namir. Okay, go.
Well, the ending happened.
Were you awake for it?
The end. I was. That's what I kind of
heard that.
because it is my favorite part of it.
Then you woke up.
Exactly. That's right. This movie's great. This movie is a great nap.
That's it. Exactly it.
Okay, so what do you think of the V'ger, Namir?
I loved it. The V'ger reveal. I loved it. I thought it was great. I feel like the whole movie, that makes the movie worth it, right? Like I think they did it so well. and you're like, oh, that's the Voyager / Future. So it's such a great sci-fi idea, right? When they do things like that, and they it's a weird ending, right? It doesn't quite make sense, but it makes sense enough for you to buy it. As a viewer, there's enough there where you're like, okay, they ascend, okay, that's fine. Somehow Voyager becomes alive, okay, all right, fine. You know, Voyager disconnects its own wire somehow, and they're not able to twist it back together again. That's okay. That's fine. I'll deal with that. But I liked it. I thought it was great.
So I really like the ending too. And since we've all said really good things about it, let me point out a couple things that don't make any sense, or a couple criticisms. One, the reason that V'ger calls himself V'ger is that somehow there's some rust or some, dirt or something got on the word Voyager. So the logic is that somehow the probe saw his own plaque with his eyes. I don't know where the eyes were, that he was able to see the plaque and read in English his own plaque and was like, oh, it says VGER on me. I must be called V'ger. And that never made sense to me.
I always thought it was the machine.
That's what I thought too. They were like,
it
"Oh,
V'ger.
hello, what's your name?" And it's like, and they're like, "Oh, V'ger."
But they spoke English. They spoke English on the other side of the galaxy.
Why not?
No.
Yeah.
Universal translator, man.
There would be messages on the probe to communicate with the aliens.
That's right.
They would learn English.
And then
Right.
those
the
probes.
messages on the probe would have said, "This is the Voyager 6," and there would have been, there's. Anyways, I never thought it was the aliens that thought. I thought it was V'ger itself that was like, "Oh, look, that's my name. That's what it says on my T-shirt. That's my name." and it doesn't quite make sense. So the other criticism,
I'm Kelvin Klein. He should have checked his underwear.
One of the other things, the big criticism of this movie is that it's basically a remake of The Changeling. And one of the jokes was that the movie is where Nomad has gone before, because it's the same plot as The Changeling, where Nomad is this satellite a probe that comes from Earth. Something happens to it. It goes all haywire and crazy, and now has this huge destructive power, and is going back to Earth to find its creator, and mistakes Kirk for his creator. Has anybody seen this episode?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Right. So
where he was Jackson Roy Kirk.
That's right, Jackson Roy Kirk.
Okay.
Jenny's like, I'm gonna go watch this episode.
Yeah,
now.
this is like the
combination, not a culmination, but a combination.
Combination
of Kirk like talking robots, to
it is a culmination.
Stop there. Yeah, that's why I was trying to get the right word out. But yeah, of Kirk trying to get robots to destroy themselves before they destroy
nice
or him or
yeah. But usually he uses like some sort of logical trick or something. This was just
he stood there and watched it happen.
Had space sex. Yeah.
Incidentally, did anyone else notice that Decker looks exactly the same in every scene? Like, no matter what's happening, his face is the same. Like he's like, "Oh, Leah, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, Kirk, you took my ship away." And then the whole last scene, like he's just like, because by that time I was really looking for it, and I'm just like, he's got the same expression the whole way through. Anyway,
does anybody else, and this is up for debate, think that Will Deckard is Commodore Matt Decker's son from the Doomsday Machine?
No.
Yes. Well, wasn't he? He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be in Phase 2, wasn't he? As a character.
Yes.
And he
yeah,
was supposed to be Matt Decker's son.
Was he?
I think it's supposed to be, but I mean, there hasn't been any on-screen mention. But I thought that was the plan.
No, I would feel like there would be some kind of contention there. Otherwise, like, you got my dad killed, even though he did it himself.
Sounds like he doesn't have a very strong argument there.
I don't. I don't even remember who's Matt Deckard. Is he
From
the admiral that
the Doomsday
turns
Machine.
old? Who is
he was the Commodore who like took over the Enterprise and like tried to like blow up the Doomsday Machine by like flying the Enterprise into it.
I love how Namir went
cone?
immediately.
Yeah.
He went immediately to TNG season 1. He was like, "Isn't that,
I did,
isn't
yeah.
that too short a season?" That guy, Admiral Jameson's son. No,
I don't remember. Sure, I'm gonna. You're all right. Everybody's correct.
I think the costumes in this movie were amazing. What does everybody else think?
Oh, is that why you didn't want to talk about it until the end? Because you knew you were wrong?
I think they were amazing.
Okay, so this is the
but
thing.
Not for the reasons you think.
I'm going to preface the whole uniform thing by saying that. So when the director, Robert Wise, came on board, he says the first thing we're changing are those pajamas on the original series, and he went through this
Because it looks
whole
like they wear
process.
pajamas in this movie.
That's right. So he went through this whole process of redesigning the costumes, but it was the 70s, so they had a certain color palette, and they do really look like pajamas.
So the one thing that I think the thing that bothers me the most about the costumes is the monogrammed, like stitched insignia.
Yeah.
The,
you can really see the 4K
the
too.
Starfleet.
You can see the threads. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's like they're in the Boy Scouts and they just got like a space exploration patch.
Mm-hmm.
Like
she is fat. They're gonna put all their badges on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad. And then they've got these weird belts that look like iPhones.
What
like
are they?
Go looks like that
there's
art
no
that
belt.
don't seem to do. I don't knows?
I don't know what it's for.
There's
I'll tell you what it's for. They're bioscans. They put those things on their bodies so they can monitor all their vital functions at all times.
Are you just
and if
making
anything
this up?
happens to them, it gets it's in the book.
Well, they should have used it so we would know what it was, because it just looked like a useless belt buckle. Like, why are you going around with this?
Like,
yeah, that's the world's most advanced belt buckle.
There's just sort of no consistency because Kirk starts off in the like epaulets one, and then he changes into the short sleeves.
I know,
and then he
was
changes
really
into
nice,
the long sleeve with the
off.
blue. It just doesn't make any sense. And even like Kirk and Spock and McCoy at one point are all wearing blue two pieces, and they all have different necks on them. Like it's insane. Like and then at one point Sulu changes into the white short sleeve that Kirk had on. Like it's crazy.
Quartermaster's just
and
drunk that day. He didn't know what he was doing.
And then right at the end, when Scotty comes up on the bridge, somehow they squeezed him in, or not squeezed him into, but like he's the only main character who ends up in a onesie. Because he walks onto the bridge and he's got a one piece on. And I don't know. It's
and what's with this?
The problem is like not only bad design, but it's distracting.
Very.
Right? Like when you're watching it, you should be watching the movie, not be like, wait a second, why is he wearing that? What happened there? Did he change? Who's he? Barbara Streisand? What's happening here? But it totally distracts you.
I don't get the security outfits either. Why do they have?
They
these
look
helmets
like TOS
with a chin
Romulans.
strap?
Like what is that? Like yes.
It's like, and then they got this weird chest plate. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a 5-year-old's football protector.
But what I like about it is that's the only part of the uniform that survives throughout the movies, because it comes back in Star Trek 3, at least Star Trek 3, I know, and maybe beyond that.
Those helmets?
Those stupid helmets.
Yeah, that whole get-up shows up at the beginning of Star Trek 3.
Well, the engineering stuff shows up again too.
The engineering, but I'm talking about the security
really?
uniform. Yeah. At the beginning, when the McCoy is possessed by Spock and breaks into his quarters, and he's like,
Oh,
he
yeah,
jogs
yeah,
down
yeah,
there, and
yeah,
you
yeah.
see them
Yeah,
you see them with their little phasers, and they got the little
that's
football
hilarious.
uniform on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It always reminds me of the bridge crew from Spaceballs.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
very
very
similar.
much so. Mm-hmm.
And I have I have a question. Were you gonna say something, Jenny?
No, go ahead.
So what's the deal with that? What's the deal with that alien on the bridge who's got the weird forehead and the shiny eyes? I never seen that alien ever before, and never again after that. Remember, he's like the one who's
And
like,
the longest
You do
hair.
like the
yeah, he's the
Rhodians
longest
or
hair, and
something?
he's the
I
one who
thought we didn't
says,
see them again.
I don't know.
I think they have a backstory. I think you see them again.
with the weird eyes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just
Okay.
background. They had some extra money spent, so they put in some goofy looking aliens in the background.
But the guy who talks, he's more than background. He talks. He's like Captain Decker.
Oh, they're
got a
a
line.
Rondarite.
Are you looking this up right now?
I am looking at Memory Alpha. Yes.
Is that the same species?
They were
as
also
Greta?
in Strange New Worlds. Apparently, in that courtroom one was number 1.
Oh, that's interesting. It's a nice little throwback.
Cool.
Okay,
But,
is everybody
yeah.
ready for their final thoughts? Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I feel like we covered everything.
I think there's much more. We should do a part 2 of this. Jenny, what have we missed, Jenny?
Only for me, just the tone shift right at the end, where it's been such a serious thing, and then they're dead, and then they just kind of get back on the bridge, and everyone's just kind of cheerful, and just kind of thinking about what happened, and it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that scene. Yeah, in that way, yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with that scene other than the fact that it doesn't belong in this movie. Because what we've seen so far isn't that, and then all of a sudden they're like, now we're gonna do us. Now we're gonna do Star Trek, like this Star Trek. And I found it sort of like, oh, okay. I'm, not like, and I like them doing that, and that was great. But it was just I was like, where did this come from? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's what I found about after the transporter accident. He takes about 10 seconds to like, oh god, my science officer. Oh, and then he's like, how do you get to deck 8 or what?
Yeah.
He doesn't know where he is. He's like,
I'm hungry.
I've mourned for 10 seconds. Now it's time to figure out where the hell I am.
He's a ship captain. Stuff like this happened. He had tears in his eyes. There's some moisture happening here.
Appropriate amount of grieving.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just move on.
And then he hears the bones is coming out. And he's like, I'm gonna make him take the transporter.
Okay, let's go to our final thoughts and our rating out of 10 for this motion picture called Star Trek. And let's start with Alan.
Dear God. I really don't know how to rate this because I like it, but I don't.
Sounds like a 7.
Yep.
It's like I've watched it so many times and I'm always entertained by it, but it's so not what I want from a Star Trek movie. Like Jenny said, if there's anybody else, I'd probably like it more if it wasn't a Star Trek movie. It's kind of like when you hear a song by a band you like. It's like, if any other band did this song, I'd like it, but it doesn't fit this band. So, I mean, I'd probably give this like a 6 out of 10. I don't know. It's like, it needs a lot more work to make it really good. But visually, it's stunning. I just wish the characters were there. And they just, because we get like little niblets of the classic trio, but it just doesn't. It's just a lot of exposition in this movie. It's just a lot of plot, and not a lot of character. So I think I give it a 6 just because I love the visuals so much, and it's such a gorgeous movie. Except the uniforms, which are awful. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. Somebody else.
Okay, Namir.
Yeah, this movie is weird for me because I always think I'm going to hate it going in, and then I end up really liking it. And I think it definitely has flaws, but it's a good sci-fi movie, right? Like it's always a good watch, and I like the twist, I like the design, I love the music. It's better than a lot of other Star Trek movies. So so if
A lot?
I like Jenny. Yeah,
I mean, maybe not a lot. Like there's like a handful. Okay, like Insurrection and Nemesis, right? So if Nemesis was going to be like a 5, I would give this an 8. It's an 8.
I feel like we got to do all the movies now.
And then, you what? Sorry, did you say you like Nemesis better than this?
Oh, I do.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Alan said that we should review all the movies now.
We should.
I like
okay,
Nemesis.
your turn, Jenny.
Okay. This was challenging for me.
That's a 5. That's a 5?
No. because I like Star Trek.
Really?
And the thing about Star Trek that's great, and this is like the big asterisk on what I'm about to say, is that the great thing about Star Trek is that all Star Trek is good Star Trek because there's something for everybody, and there are people that absolutely adore this movie, and that's fantastic. So yeah, so that's just my. I, however, do not adore this movie. Like I said in the beginning, it is not fun. It's not a fun movie. And again, it doesn't have to be fun, but it needs to be like this movie, this meeting could have been a memo. You know what I mean? Like this would have been a killer episode. Like if they had taken this. Yeah. Only they could have just there's just like 75% of this movie is just people looking at stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the concept. I love the concept. The concept is great. Like the V'ger situation, I think is a wonderful twist. I think it's a really cool sci-fi concept. I just it's like two different. I just want it to be more just
tighter.
I just want. I don't know, man. Like this is like God.
It could have been a 90-minute
episode.
movie.
This is a nice little science fiction concept wrapped in a lot of people looking at stuff. And a little tiny bit of Star Trek, which is great. And there's a lot of great stuff in here for a lot of people who are not me. So I give this a 6, which I realize is not actually that low, but for me it's pretty low. So.
Wow, that's like a bargain basement rating.
Oh, let me run to
for
sleep.
Jenny.
I'm okay. I have 10% left in both my phone and my brain.
So I should talk for like a solid half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So
good luck with your edit.
So I don't think this is the best Star Trek movie. I reserve that honor for Star Trek 5. But I think that this is pretty...
Which is a whole other conversation.
But it's pretty high up there. It's the only movie that's on par in the same neighborhood as 2001, which automatically makes it one of the best Star Trek movies. It is a little slow. I'll give it that.
Just a little.
And... But also, if you kind of like are prepared that we're doing a 2001 version of Star Trek, then you gotta suck it up and just do a little drugs and get comfortable and enjoy yourself. And it's like top-notch direction, it's top-notch music, and it kind of sets the tone for everything else. It is the first reboot of Star Trek. It reinvents Star Trek for the first time out of multiple reinventions. It proves that Star Trek can be reinvented. It sets the stage for all the movies and the subsequent series up until 2005. And it's an excellent story. So I give this movie an 8 out of 10. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I would like to do a review of wrapping up season 1 of Next Generation, and then I want to tackle season 2.
Fun.
Season 2 is awesome.
Oh, and just I want to say,
is it?
Tons of good stuff in season 2. Season 2.
Wasn't that right after the writer's strike? Oh, Pulaski's in that one. Yeah, you're right.
I feel like Namir is like Next Generation peaks at season 1. Everything else is, I don't know if it's worth my time.
That's right. That was a high watermark for Star Trek.
He's not even joking. That's the sad part.
Sad.
Code of honor.
You must have not finished Deep Space Nine yet. If you still think that.
No, I'm still in season 4.
You haven't even got to the good stuff yet. Jesus.
It's getting good.
But you know what's funny, Jenny, when you said, this would have been a really good episode? Because it was an episode. It was the original, it was the pilot episode of Phase 2. And then when they realized that...
that makes sense.
So there's a movie, we're like, let's take the pilot episode and just expand it and make a movie out of it.
They expanded it all right.
Right. Yeah. But they didn't add more script. They just added longer sequences.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Okay.
When Namir said this movie's a good nap, that's your closing joke.
That way.
Just where in the future, the things we've done. If you liked this video, please consider giving this video a like, a comment, and if you're interested in more of our Star Trek related content, subscribe and live long and prosper.